Okay, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. We're going to be talking about secants, tangents, and their angle measures today. All right, so what do I mean by that? Well, if you have a circle, right, if I have a circle here, let me just delete a lot of this at once. All right, so if I have a circle, and there's going to be two main things we're going to talk about here, okay? Let me make this kind of small. There we go. All right, first things first, this is the first thing we're going to learn. That if we have two secants of a line, right? And they cross through the circle, so they cross like this, right? We have an angle here. We're going to call this angle x, right? Well, angle x is also equal to this angle because they're vertical angles to each other, right? Those two angles are equal to each other. Then we also have this arc. We're going to call this arc A and arc B, all right? And there's a relationship between this angle x and arc A and B. And it's actually real simple. It's the average of arc A and B. The average of arc A and B is equal to angle x. So what do I mean by that? Well, if this was, let's say this was, 60, and this was 50, then angle x would be the average of 60 plus 50. So you would do 60 plus 50 divided by 2, right, which is 110. So angle x is equal to 110 over 2. So angle x is 55. That's it, right? The average of the arcs is going to be equal to the angle. Now be careful, because we've also learned this, right? When it goes through the center, right? When it goes to the center, the arc is equal to the angle, all right? But we're going to have two secants touching a line. So when they touch like this, the average of these two arcs will be the answer, all right? Sorry if you hear some dog barking in the background, all right? So let's make another circle. All right, so there's, you know what, I'll come back to the second one in a minute, because I think we should just mess with this for a few minutes first. All right, so let's look at this one here, example 1. All right, what are we saying? We're trying to figure out what this angle is right here, right? Well, what do we know? Angle x is going to be equal to the average of 30 plus 55. Right? So add them together and divide by 2. That's it. So what is that? 85 divided by 2, which is 42.5, I believe. Let's check that. 80. Yeah, 42.5. Angle x is 42.5 degrees. All right. So let's find angle y. All right. This one we probably need to talk about for a minute. I don't even, I looked at this for a minute first, and I kind of hesitated for a moment. I don't know if you noticed there. But we already know about this, right? When it's like this, right? This angle and this arc. What's the relationship? You should already know that angle x is equal to half of the arc, right? Now, what if I touched it? What instead of touching it there, I touched it like this, all right? Like this, right? So there's an angle here, x, and then there's an arc here, a, right? Well, check this out. It follows the exact same formula. So if one is tangent and the other one's a secant, right? So this is a tangent here, and this is a secant, and that's a secant. All you do is you do the exact same thing as if it was over here, okay? No different. So don't let it change anything. So what are we saying? All we're saying is that when it's touching like this, letting it render here, give me 1 second. All I'm saying is when it's touching like this, right? When it touches like this angle is equal to half of this arc. This angle is equal to half of this arc. That's it. So what am I saying here? Angle y is equal to half of that, right? So angle y is equal to 1/2 of 168. So angle y is equal to 44. Check that, 84. Bad at math, right? Angle y is equal to 84 degrees. All right, next problem. All right, so it crosses through the middle. So what do we know about angle 1? Angle 1 is the average, right? So the measure of angle 1 is equal to the average of 40 and 52. So angle 1 is equal to, what is that, 26 and 20, so 46, right? That's it. All right, example 2. All right, so this one's going to take a little bit more work. So this angle is 45 degrees, right? We don't know this, so let's call this x. We're going to get into a little bit of algebra here, right? So what do we know? We know that 28 plus x divided by 2 must equal the angle, which is 45, right? So it's just an algebra problem. So if I were you, I would just double both sides. So I get 28 plus x is equal to 90. So x is equal to, what is that, 70, 62? 62. And you could check it, right? Is 62 plus 28 divided by 2 45? Yes, it is. All right, that's it. All right, next problem. What's the relationship like this? Well, remember, when it's touching like this, right, when you have a tangent and a secant, what happens is this angle, angle 3, ends up being half of 220. So angle 3 is equal to 110. And incidentally, you could actually figure out what this arc is, right? Because if that's 110, then this is, what is that, 140? Because it'd have to be 360 together. So you could get other stuff like that too. All right, next problem. All right, so this is cool. They're asking you what this arc is, right? I'm sorry, what that angle is. Well, let's just figure out what this angle is first. Like, let's figure out what angle x is first. Well, angle x is equal to the average of 90 and 130, right? So angle x is equal to, what is that, 210 divided by 2? No, 220 divided by 2, so 110, right? Because this is, I think that's 220 over 2, which is 110. So angle x is 110, so let's write that in here. So this is 110. Now notice that these are supplementary angles, right? So those add up to 180. So angle 5 must be the supplement of 110. So 180 minus 110 is 70. Angle 5 is 70. So what we did was we figured out what this angle was first and then used it to figure out the other one. All right, so next one. All right, so this is another good problem, right? This is 160, right? From here to here it's 160. Oh, well that means that this must be 200. Why does it have to be 200? Because that makes a full circle, right? And a full circle is 360. So that has to be 200. Oh, that's cool. So angle 6 is equal to half of 200. So angle 6 is equal to 100 degrees. That's it. All right, on to the next section. Now what are we going to do? Now we're going to have it crossing through the circle differently. All right, so what are we going to do now? Now we're going to have two secants crossing outside of the circle. So stuff like this. I don't know why it keeps doing that to me. So let me fix this. All right, something, holy cow. Something like this, right? So we get an angle here. This is angle x, this is arc A, and this is arc B, right? Now, before, remember, the angle x was equal to half of the average, or half of the sum, right? That was for when it was crossing inside, but now it's going to be outside, right? Angle x is not inside here somewhere. It's outside, right? When this happens, this is not true, right? When this happens, this is not true. What happens is angle x is going to be equal to half of the difference, right? So not the average. You're going to take the difference and divide by 2. So you subtract these two, and it's really, in this case, A is smaller than B, so flip-flop it, you know? It's going to be the bigger arc minus the smaller arc, not necessarily A and B, okay? Just it really depends on how you label them. So it's real easy because all you do is you subtract them instead of adding them. And that's all this is saying here, right? Angle P is equal to the difference, right? You subtract the two from each other, all right? And they're going to show you stuff like this too, guys. Look, when it's like this. But don't change this up. This angle is going to be equal to the difference of those two arcs, right? This arc and this arc. It'll just be the difference of those two. All right. There's a couple other examples in a minute. So let's do example 4 first. All right, so what do we know? We know that this is 18 degrees and we know that this is 34 degrees, and they're asking us what angle MNP is, which is this one right here, right? So MPN is equal to half of the difference of the arcs. Well, the arcs were 34 minus 18, right? So what is that? 16. So the angle is equal to half of 16. And half of 16 is 8. So angle MPN is 8 degrees. Remember, you're subtracting them, not adding them. All right, let's try it again with another problem. All right, so we're trying to find angle 1, right? Well, angle 1 is going to be equal to half of the difference of the two arcs. So 80 minus 40. So it's going to be half of 40, which is 20, right? Pretty easy. All right, so this one I don't like looking at like it's a new type of problem. Look, here's the first arc, here's the second arc. It follows the same rule, right? So angle 2 is going to be equal to half of the difference. What's the two arcs? 160 and 80. So that's half of 80 if you do the algebra, and half of 80 is 40. So angle 2 is 40 degrees. All right, next one. How about this one? Now this one, a lot of people, if we were having tutoring in the mornings, if you were in my classroom, whatever, I'd have a lot of people come in. You're going to come to me and you're going to say at first like, oh, I don't have enough information to solve it because I don't know what this is, all right? But you do know what that is, because here's what you do know. You do know that Gillespie cannot draw around a circle, right? All right, you do know that all the way around a circle is 360 degrees. And if this part, I'm going to do it in red, okay? If this red part is 220, then the blue part must be 140, all right? Why 140? Because 220 plus 140 equals 360. So they're going to hide it from you. They're going to like to hide it from you. They'll give you part of the arc, right? And they'll ask, and they won't tell you the other part, but you can just do the algebra. So this is 140. So 140 here. So what do I know? Angle 3 is going to be equal to half of the difference of the two arcs. So half of 80, I believe. So 40. That's it. All right, next problem, a little bit harder. We're going to call this is 70. We don't know what this is, so we're going to call this x, and we know this is 20. So we know that 20 is going to be equal to half of the difference of 70 minus, we don't know what it is, so we're going to call it x. I would probably double both sides right now. I would not distribute the 1/2, okay? I'd double both sides. So I'd get 40 is equal to 70 minus x. Then I'd subtract 70 from both sides. I'd get negative 30 equals negative x. So x is 30. And you can check it. Is 70 minus 30 divided by 2, right? You can check it. 70 minus 30 divided by 2. Does that equal 20? Yes, it does. Done. All right, next problem. All right, so this one is, I would probably put a star by because a lot of you are probably going to struggle with it. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to call Ln, we're going to call that x. Now, if that's x, then what is this? Well, the whole circle is 360, right? So that piece must be 360 minus x, because the whole circle minus the piece that you don't know, which is x, right? If that's x, then this is 360 minus x. All right, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to label this x and 360 minus x. All right, that's my two arcs. So what do I know now? I know that, right, angle M, which is 50, so 50 is equal to 1/2 of what? 360 minus x, right? Minus x. Because what am I doing? I'm taking the difference of the two arcs. The first arc is 360 minus x, and I'm subtracting the other arc, which is x. So what do I get? I get 50 equals 1/2 of 360 minus 2x. Double both sides, so I get 100 equals 360 minus 2x. Subtract 360 from both sides. I get negative 260 equals negative 2x, so x is 130. All right, so ln is 130. So keep that in mind. You might want to go back and watch this video again. That's the way you do that kind of problem, all right? And if you're in my class right now and we're watching this video, I'll probably stop and make sure everybody understands that. All right, next problem. All right, what do I know? I know this is 100, all right? I know this is 100. I know this is 110. I know this is 80. So I can figure out what this is, can't I? I can figure out what that is because I know that 110 plus 100 plus 80 is 300, I believe. Let's make sure. No, I think 290. 290, right? So that's 290 degrees, right? From here to here to here, let me do that in red. This is 290 degrees, the red. So if I do 360 minus 290, I get 70, right? So from this must be 70. And I have enough information now to solve this problem because just like before, let me get rid of a lot of this. I know that if I subtract the two red arcs and divide by 2, I will get angle V. So angle V is equal to half of what? Half of 100 minus 70. So angle V is equal to half of 30, which is 15. Angle V is 15 degrees. And that's it, guys. Not hard. Just keep those two rules. Remember, if they cross inside, right? If they cross inside, you add them and divide by 2. If they cross outside, right? If they cross outside, you subtract them and divide by 2. That's it. All right, well, good luck with this. If you need any help, send me a comment on my YouTube channel or send me an email at info@MathNinja.Org. All right, have a nice day. Good luck.